Hello, everybody. I am very excited to introduce our beautiful guest, Susanne Bloom. I'll share a little bit about her first. She is a heart-led life design and manifestation coach with global impact, a fellow human being who believes in the worthiness of each and every one of us. Susanne inspires professionals and entrepreneurs to clarify their vision, self-concept, and awareness to create the life they would love to live or lead, I guess, too, right?
Both work.
Yeah. So today we've been talking a lot about some really key words, and I know that these are also in alignment with you as well. It's stepping into alignment, stepping into your life, how you want to feel, all of these bits and pieces. So when you talk about what I just read in your bio there, why did you come around to really recognizing this about yourself and others?
So I think you're talking about the self-worth part, I'm guessing. And honestly, it was a long fought battle, and I didn't know that I was in it, which is it's really hard to win a battle when you don't even know you're on the field. And so for me, success was something that I could always sort of touch with the tip of my finger, but never fully grasp or embrace. And I don't mean success necessarily in professions or anything like that. I just mean that wholehearted living, that wholehearted loving relationships, all the gusto, health and wealth and all of it. And it came down to, when I was in being coached by someone else and they started talking about self-worth and I just started to cry. I'm like, oh, I think we've just hit something here. But then I realized, I think it's, once we buy a red Volkswagen, always see a red Volkswagens. Once I realized, oh my gosh, I have no idea about my self-worth. It's in the tank. I could see so many friends were the same. And so following that path of development of really working on what does it mean to have that great relationship with yourself, to go from self-loathing to acceptance to, hey, you're okay, to you're good, to whoa, damn, you're good. Like, and that whole gamut of what is it like to enrich a relationship with yourself, which then I never used to believe this, but it's so true, helps you love and embrace everything in life just so much more. And everything I was looking for just seemed to come when that self-worth key was hit.
You are speaking my language, girl. I want, you know what I've really noticed is with the first guest speaker, and it's really coming up again very powerfully with you, and you'll find this throughout this whole event, those of you who are listening to every all of the calls. Uh, I'm really recognizing the people that I've aligned myself with now, that they're speaking my language, that they've walked maybe not exact paths that I've walked, but I've walked through the same sort of things. That was one really big thing for myself was really recognizing that self-worth. It was comical. I was scrolling through my phone yesterday, not going through reels. What I was doing was going through all my notes in the notepad. And I have notes in this phone that date back to 2018. And there are people who have heard me talk about August 4th, 2018. That was, yeah, that was one of those pivotal moments for me. And to go back and find that exact note in my phone, I can't wait to make an email about this because it's a date that I keep talking about. And it was that date where I recognized and I decided, I didn't recognize, I knew I was doing it already, that I was already being really rude to myself. But it was
Mhm.
the date that I decided that I was going to make a change.
Yeah, it's so true. I can remember, I don't remember the actual date, but I remember the feeling. And it was deep and it was frightening. It's like, holy gosh, a change has to happen now. And I don't know what yours was
Wow.
like, Sandra, but for me, it was someone had challenged me to do some mirror work. What's the big deal? You stand in front of the mirror and you look at yourself. I realized I was looking at myself, around myself, at the outfit, at the hair, at the makeup, at the what needs cleaning on the mirror, but not into my own eyes. And when I looked into my own eyes, there was a soul there that was just screaming, you see me. You actually see me. And the tears just flowed and it was huge. And wow, that I still get it. I can't believe that I went that long. I mean, we are raised as wonderful children in this society that when we enter a room, we acknowledge the other beings there. But how often do we, as men, women, children, enter an area where we can see ourselves, whether it's our reflection in the mirror, the water, the back of a spoon, you name it, and we don't acknowledge that being? What are we doing? That's one of the biggest ways I was being rude to myself. Even, I mean, let's even just let out the self-talk. But that was huge.
Yeah. The reason I remember the date is because it happened to be my mom's birthday, and we had all come together to celebrate her birthday. And it was something my husband did afterwards that triggered what happened. And that's why that date stands out in my mind. And you're right. It's that fearful moment. And I want to share mine because you've said yours was with mirror work. So people understand that it doesn't have to happen standing in front of a mirror, but looking yourself deep in the eyes in the front of a mirror is massive, okay? It could be in the small things that happen on a day-to-day basis, and suddenly you just recognize that something has to change. It can't be like that anymore. And I went from, holy crap, I don't even want to be with that man if this is how he's going to treat me. And then I realized, wait a second, I'm treating myself the same way. If I stop treating myself this way, I feel so emotional about telling you this. If I stop treating myself this way, then he will stop treating me this way, ideally, because that's what he's doing. He's doing what I'm doing. He's mirroring me,
Yes. How we
right?
love ourselves is how we teach
Yeah.
others to love us. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it incredible?
Yeah.
What a
It was
revelation
massive.
that must have been for you. So what were the next steps like?
First of all, it scared the crap out of me because it was like I can't be with him anymore. And then I went for a long walk. Like I left the house and I went for a long walk. And during that walk, I started to put two and two together. And it's so funny because when I went, and it's so interesting to read the message that I had written myself from 2018. And it was basically I said that the person that I walked out the door with was a completely different person than who I walked back in the door with, because I decided that I was no longer going to call myself names. And then every time that I did that after that, I was like, no, either during the process that no, or actually having said and saying no, and then saying this is who I actually am. Yeah,
Yeah. It's big work.
it is.
And it's the tip of the iceberg when we finally start looking within. And I always tell my clients, if we don't go within, we go without. And it is so true in everything. But like you say, how we love ourselves is how we teach. Well, you taught him how to love you, how I taught the people in my life how to love me. And I think that's obviously it's what enriches our life because we're suddenly going deep with ourselves. And so other people do as well. And I don't know, it's like our relationships took a quantum leap. Like I say our because I mean mine and each of my sons, mine and my husband's, mine and my granddaughters. Like it just went so deep, but it also worked that way with my health. It worked that way with my career. It worked that way with everything that I was really wanting to focus on. And I just welcomed welcomed the leap. I don't think I realized I was in it. I don't think we ever realize we're in a leap like that until we land.
Yeah.
We're like,
Well,
oh, where am I? This is awesome.
and there's a lot of steps that get us to that point.
Mhm.
Like it's not like this suddenly shows up and we don't recognize that we've gotten here. It's like we recognize that we've gotten there because of the steps that we've taken. So to each of the listeners, uh, have faith that you're on the right path, that you're already aligning with people who have their own personal best interests in mind. And because they have their own personal best interests in mind, they have your best interests in mind. Because that's what happened is when I discovered that I had no self-worth and I chose to step into finding myself worthy, my husband's whole demeanor towards me changed. Our relationship, we're 41 years married this year. That was like what, 7 years ago? And I thought I was going to be walking out the door, right? And he has now found space to start to love himself. Now, does that mean he's walking around going, I love myself? No, I personally say I love myself because that's the type of person I am. However, he is displaying it in different subconscious or unconscious ways, which is so beautiful to witness. And I imagine you're seeing that with your sons and your husband as well.
Absolutely. My husband, number one, because he teaches about it too, so he's a little more conscious of it, but I see him taking time for himself to do things that
Yeah,
he actually wants. Not, hey, hun, what do you want to do? It's, you
yeah,
know what, I'd actually like to do this right now. Is that good? Did you want to join me? And I really love that because there's a level of respect for himself and for the relationship that comes with that. But, I mean, Sandra, what you did in that path that you walked, just going back to your self-worth journey, I mean, I can't speak for you, but I see it work with people is one of the things that happens is that we realize we're not happy with what we have.
yeah,
And you were longing for a better relationship with your husband, so much so that you were ready to walk.
yeah.
Um, and and you create a vision for what you want. You want something beautiful for yourself, that self-love, and with him.
And I want to take that a step further. So when I came back in the door, I knew that I wanted to love myself more.
Mm.
There was another critical piece to this. And again, we've been talking about this morning or in the previous call already. So really, if you're listening to this call as a standalone, go back and listen to all the different calls because there's a really deep thread happening in here. I I I recognize that even in my loving myself or wanting to have self-worth for myself, I could still walk away from him. So it was decision time. Do I want to stay or do I want to go? And I made the decision to stay and work on myself, not work on him. I
Mm.
made the decision to stay and work on myself. And here we are 7 years later when I could have walked out that door and never come back.
Yeah. Decision is huge.
Yeah.
You knew you wanted change and you decided.
Yeah. Well, when I
And
married
once
the
we
man, I
just,
wanted to marry him for life.
mm, hmm But that's a decision that needs to be maintained
Yeah.
daily, weekly, monthly,
It
and
is way easier now, though.
well, of course, but people say, how are you married for 25, 26 years? I'm like, what do you mean? I decided that this was the man for me. I decided this was a relationship. I decided I knew what I wanted. And I decided I could work with this man for that.
Mm,
And you're right, it gets easier and easier, but we grow constantly. We're working on each other, like on ourselves, I guess I should say, constantly. And then we share with each other, which
yeah.
one upping. Like we're like, oh, you learned that today? Oh my God, I never thought about that. And the next day I come back, I was thinking about it and I thought this. And it's a beautiful synergy that you can create when you, I don't know, have that shared desire or shared vision for a life together. You know? Mhm.
I want to expand on this a little bit more because um there's like I want this to be our but I'm really recognizing that there's a reason why we're talking about this topic specifically, right? The world is filled with strife right now. And ultimately the only thing we can do is see how we want to live our own personal life. Having said that, um I can tell you with some certainty, if you're in a relationship where there is strife, that there is anxiety, and there is so much going on that you don't even know if you can manage to get there through this day kind of thing. Truly, it is about going inside and starting to care about yourself because you are ultimately the only person that can take care of yourself. I'm not telling you to walk away from a relationship by any means. You will come to that decision on your own when you care enough about yourself to recognize, yes, I want to stay, or no, I need to go, whatever that case is. Having said that, I could tell you that if if you're able to put in the love for yourself, that ultimately our soul has been put on here on earth to actually step into and learn, then the relationships will naturally come or naturally fall away. In that, I know, and I just alluded to that 7 years ago I wanted to walk away. I chose to stay. In choosing to stay, I started to recognize where I was responsible for myself with my expectations on things and was able to let go of things. And we talked about that a little bit previously as well. It's that habits that we have, the new habits that we want to have. Um, and there's so much I just want to go blah at everybody with. But at the end of the day, it comes down to how much I took care of myself is a direct reflection or mirror of what's happening in my relationship. I don't necessarily have to work on my relationship because I'm working on me. And the
Mhm.
things in my relationship are naturally happening because I'm working on me. And that's why I say it will either blossom or it will fall away naturally. And you'll
Mhm.
be in the space to be able to step into that in a powerful way.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I love what you're saying because when we start working on ourselves, our energy shifts, our frequency shifts, and like attracts like. And when our partner is in sync with us and is attracted to what's happening, they grow and blossom with us. Maybe not at the same rate, but they grow and blossom with us. And sometimes they'll outleap us. They'll go, "Whoa, this is a good idea." And I've seen that happen in a few relationships. But like you said, sometimes we're just no longer on the same frequency.
Yeah.
And the more you do your own self-work, the more you realize this isn't working. This is like carrying a dead weight, hit the ball, drag Charlie, hit the ball, drag Charlie. It's just like Charlie should run for himself too. And you will feel when that doesn't work. And you know what? Oftentimes, especially when we're working on ourselves, the other person is made quite uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And it comes from them very often that it's time to part ways because
Yeah.
maybe they're not willing to be drawn into the growth that you're doing, the growth spiral, the wonderful spiral up, you know? Yeah.
So, how does this relate to your gift? Your gift is all about 5 tools to quantum leap your life. How does that relate into this?
I have to ask you first, how long do I get to talk?
The floor is yours, and technically, you have 40 minutes.
Okay, okay. Well, in all honesty, quantum leaping is a process that people ask about, and they come to me because they're looking to make change in their life. And like most of us, we want it now.
So I just before you go any further, I just want to say something really quick so that people have a better understanding of what quantum is. My best way to describe quantum is to recognize that we have the potential to tap into energy in a way that moves us forward. And I'm going to use this example. I do it with time and space. My husband and I were in the vehicle. We had to be at an appointment. We had, I think, 35 minutes to get there, and we left late. So we're on the road and I'm like, okay, well, I need to shift into space and get out of time. So I would get there. And then I realized, no, I can't just shift me. I need to actually shift the husband, the truck, and the trailer. So I energetically was thinking, okay, I'm shifted all of us into space to get there on time. And that's what I said, and that's what I felt into the energy of. And people were passing us, we were passing people were passing us. It's not like you could physically see something happening out here. However, what happened is we actually arrived 5 or 10 minutes early to
Mhm.
there
Mhm.
because we shifted the whole thing. And my husband, I mentioned that to my husband, is I need to shift us into space, right? And there a time after that, he goes, "Can you do that shift thing?" So that's what quantum is. It's this ability to recognize that we have other options versus living in this human dimension. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. My husband gets me to do that sometimes too. Could you do the thing? Because it always works for you. I'm like, of course it does. Absolutely. Yeah. And so back to how does this relate to my gift? Well, my gift is a few things to start us on the way toward a quantum leap, but it makes more sense if I can give. I know that you're great at this too, Sandra, but the way that I approach this with my clients is I first ask them, well, what would you love? And
Mhm.
what are you looking for in your life? What would you love to have happen? Health, wealth, time, money, relationships. we learn to create a vision for ourselves based on our values, our passion, and our purpose. And I take clients into that because a lot of us are like, okay, I kind of know I value love and family. And then they're like, and that's okay. Like we really discover what are our values, and our values are always there. And we really notice them when someone rubs up against them the wrong way. But we create a vision and then we dive into self-concept and vibration. And the
Mm.
self-concept is where the worthiness comes from because, like I was saying earlier, like attracts like. So if I'm vibrating at a frequency where I don't feel great about myself, I don't feel like what I'm looking for ever works out, that, love relationships don't work out, that I never have enough money, when I'm feeling those things, I'm attracting more, never have enough money. I'm attracting more, love never works out. And because of that, if I never shift my feeling of worthiness and my self-concept toward what it will be when my vision comes true, then the vision isn't going to come for me. And because I'm always attracting, I'm always manifesting, I'm always creating. Every single one of us are. Except we need to come to the realization that what we created in front of us that we may not like is our fault too. Not necessarily our fault, but it's our creation. It's created upon what we knew at the time and how we felt about our situation and our reality. And so within the gift that I have are a few things that help people shift that self-concept. So just daily practices. One of my faves is gratitude, of course. And everyone always says, hashtag gratitude. Yeah, but do you know what it means? Like, sure, I feel blessed. Do you? Do you really? So feeling into it, feeling that blessing, feeling that grateful for what's there all the time. And people often say, well, I really would love more money. Like, how can I be grateful if my bank account's empty? Well, hold the phone. Is your bank account truly empty if what you're looking around at is a home where you're able to make the rent or the mortgage, if you're able to pay for the power, if you're able to pay for the heat, if you have enough food? I mean, if we live in Canada and the US, very often we're blessed that way. And, when we're paying that bill, sure, we may end up with only $1 or $2 at the end of the month, but how do we feel when we pay the bill? Because if we can shift ourselves to paying the bill from the end result, and I say this in a wild way, but how does it feel to pay your heating bill when you make 100 grand a month? It's a trifle. It's just,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I gotta remember to do that. Right. It doesn't even cross your mind. And that's the self-concept work. That is the coming from the end. That is the shifting into, well, who am I when everything is all worked out? And operating from there already. It doesn't mean spending money that we don't have. It means as we spend it as if we had
Yeah.
enough, as if we had more than enough, as if it was coming easily and continuously, right? And that goes the same with love and relationships, goes the same with health. When I get up out of my chair, do I feel aches and pains or do I feel great? Oh my gosh, I feel great today. Like I am just so grateful things are moving and shaking. Like this is awesome, just as it should be. And my cells are vibrating as they should. And that self-talk that I had for myself has shaped into so many different things now. I used to be about, I don't know, it's like I was stuck in my teenage years that my hair had to look this way or my makeup that way or my clothes this way. And then I realized, whoa, it's not what the mirror's for. It's to see you and all of you. And so I now talk about my health to myself. I talk
Mm.
about my relationships to myself from the end result, from having it all worked out as I want. How does it feel to be healthy? Well, I'll tell you what, if I said, how are you? And you're feeling great, you go, I feel great. You don't say, well, my back doesn't hurt today, or my foot
Yeah.
doesn't ache. It doesn't cross our mind. We just feel fantastic today. And
Yeah.
so
Can I
that's,
just I just want to interrupt you real quick there, Suzanne.
yeah,
Um,
please.
you'll notice that she's talking a lot about feel and how she is reframing her phrases. Okay. One of the powerful phrases, and here's another tool for the group, is really recognizing what you're saying behind the I am, or choose to say I feel instead of I am. Okay. Because if I say I am sick, you are literally creating that. That's what you're creating, right? If you say I feel sick, you're honoring what you actually are going through in this space,
Mhm.
right? And when you when so I just want you guys to sit with that for a second because that alone is a very powerful thing. You're shifting into quantum when you really recognize the power of those two phrases, I feel and I am. Thank you for letting me interrupt you.
I think you nailed the hair, you hit the nail on the head because I am is the highest level of quantum leap. You know, I that comes with an awareness. It comes with, like you say, noticing the difference. Notice what you're saying to yourself. Um, there,
Sorry, I got you totally off track, didn't I?
no, 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 no. I'm backtracking because, very often we come from our 3D world. And in our 3D world, we maybe see that at the end of the month, we have only so much money. We see that our relationship with our partner isn't maybe as strong as we would like. We see, and we see a job maybe we don't love. We see these things, and because we see them, here I go again with but we're gonna think certain things, and then we're gonna feel certain things, and then we're gonna take certain action, and it's gonna get me more of what I was feeling and thinking and acting upon. And notice I ended up at the same spot. So I see this happening in my reality. I think certain thoughts, I feel a certain way, and I act a certain way, and I get more of that reality. And that's the loop that we switch when we're in quantum. Because sure, it's okay to say that, I have enough money to pay the bills. Okay, I've got stuff covered, but do you want to stay there?
Mm.
The Suzanne that I would love to be is the one who has more money than month, the one who has so many great relationships that there's not enough time in the day to meet with everybody, that, you draw your own picture, whatever that is. So instead of thinking from what I see here, I think from what I see here. So if I'm thinking from the Suzanne for whom it all works out and she has these relationships and stuff, well then those ideas that I have in my mind that I'm holding are now going to give me a different thought, which will give me a different feeling, which will give me a different action, which will lead me, oops, not at the same spot as my 3D world. And that's where my quantum leap comes. It means coming from the end, coming from what would you love. And that's why there's those tools and the gift that I have, just 5 tools to help you quantum leap, because it is the type of thing that shifts you from noticing what's here into noticing what's here so that you can upcycle all the time, just little parts of your day, like you did in the truck and trailer, get into your appointment on time. There are things that we can do. I have a daughter-in-law. I love her to bits, but I just don't think she thinks I love her. And I've had a tarot reading with a wonderful woman, and apparently my daughter-in-law sees me as competition, here nor there. I have decided that anytime I feel like a need to be closer to my daughter-in-law, Alyssa, that I don't need to worry about it at all. Alyssa and I don't have, communication troubles or anything. Alyssa and I get along absolutely fantastically. And because that, instead of being the mother-in-law who goes, do you think you'd be able to help me with? It's like, Alyssa and I get along great. Hey, girl, I'd love your help with this. And I can feel what that's going to feel like. I can feel the thoughts. And guess what I get? Absolutely, Suzanne. When would you like to do that? Versus if I had come from the energy of, I'm not so sure. I kind of think she hates me. That's a completely different text message. And the words could have been the exact same. But it's the feeling, like you're saying, and who am I being at the moment when I am being the woman who gets along so well with my daughter-in-law. Boom, boom, boom. That happens. So beautiful. I turned to my husband, manifested that crap right there. You see that? And he's like, that's the power. That's the stuff I want you to do. I was like, I do it all the time. And it's beautiful. It's fun. It's fun.
I said this, I think I said this with you, and I know for sure I've said this with Jenny, but I'm going to use different words now, just so I could be a little bit different. I am feeling so much synergy happening right now in this conversation with you, in the conversation that I had with Jenny earlier. I believe it's going to happen with every one of the guest speakers that we are talking with today because we are in such alignment. And I want to emphasize for everybody that notice that. Notice the alignment that's going on here. I don't think I've really noticed it before in the way that I'm noticing it today because there's something really powerful happening in this realization. And this goes back to what like you guys got to listen to all the different calls because of what's going on here. When if you go listen to Jenny's, we talk about this awareness. We talk about being in the moment. And in this moment right now, my hair's standing up on my arms. Like I'm feeling what you're saying because I'm walking what you're saying.
Mhm.
I'm living what you're saying. And because of that, what's happening to me? I'm attracting.
Yeah,
I'm attracting this. And that's what you started the conversation with, is you're attracting this stuff in.
yeah, yeah, you are.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that there's more than one way to attract. There's more than one way to bring the message out. There's more than one way to touch people's hearts because it's possible for all of us. I always say our lives are like a piano keyboard. And where we find ourselves vibrationally, whether it's low key or high key, is in our control.
Mm,
And if I would just love to have a higher level of anything, love, relationship, health, wealth, you name it, I just need to change the key, my frequency that I'm vibrating on, and continually aim for that higher. Now, does that, like my clients always go, well, I felt a little anxious yesterday. Does that mean I'm going to be anxious? I hear you. And I think it's really important to mention that we're human. We are going to have ups and downs and ups and downs. But we also know who we are. And when we know who we are at a deep level, we know what we are bringing into our lives. And I'm going to say this in a different way. It's like when I tune into Sandra Pelly, she's like a radio station. I know what I'm going to hear, right? The great Sandini, she's going to tell me about dragon energy and my possibilities and what's good for me in my life that could bring me greatness. And I know that. Now, if I one day talk to Sandra and she's in tears about something and she just can't see her way out of it, I know Sandra. I know this is a blip, right? And I know that when she's able, she's going to return to the same Sandra before, right? Now, I mean, Sandra, like all of us, are usually up leveling all the time, but I know what to expect from Sandra. Well, that's what the universe is looking at. It's not how was Suzanne 10 seconds? Oh my gosh, she had that. No. Or is she grieving the loss of a family member? Yes, we're going to drop lower. But who are we acting as? And once we recognize that we're low, we can ask ourselves, how long would I like to stay here? Do I
mm.
need to stay here? Like you were saying, Sandra, honor the feelings. Do I need to stay here a while longer? Is this something I have to solve within me? And if so, stay. Stay till we're good. But when you start asking yourself, how long do I want to stay? It's usually a sign as I think I can lift up a little. I might be able to lift up a little. And as soon as we can, we get back to that higher level frequency that we would love to manifest from. And it's that return to who we are.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because there's a tool there that really needs to be pointed out. And people may miss it if it's not pointed out. I was going to question you for the listeners about how do I then get out of that? How do I change my frequency? Because you spoke about, oh, I feel anxious in this moment. And believe me, I've been on a trail up here walking, and I've had a moment where I felt like, oh, I could really slide into being extremely overwhelmed and recognize what my daughter experiences as anxiety, that fall on the floor, can't function kind of anxiety, that drive to the mall, don't know what building I'm supposed to be going into indoors, so I'm going to sit in my car and sob kind of anxiety. And I had a moment where I could have fallen into that. However, I also had the realization that I could choose to do something else. Now let me be very clear here. I am not um I'm not saying that it's as easy as that for people who live in anxiety on a day-to-day basis, because it isn't. And I honor you and I respect you and I see the bigger picture that may be going on, that whatever, right? The thing is, though, for those of us who are having a fairly uh, consistent day-to-day basis and we experience a little bit of anxiety, this is what Susanne is saying is we can make a choice in that moment to go, okay, what can I do to get out of this? Right? For people who live full bore in anxiety, that it comes with finding the right person who stands in your corner that gives you the can help you to see the tools that you are capable of using. But for those of us who are on the plateau as a norm, um, those frequency tools, those that I guess I'm going to come back and say again, what is something simple that a person could do when they feel like they're having a blip moment?
For me, I lean into, and I coach my clients to lean into, who are you from the end? Who are you from the vision? Like the
Mm,
Suzanne in the moment who's nervous to message her daughter-in-law. No, the Suzanne who has an amazing relationship with her daughter-in-law reaches out in a certain way. So when we're feeling that anxiety, that fear, sadness, frustration, when we're ready, we can say, well, who am I? Am I a person who feels this all the time? Which, and like you were saying, for those people for whom it is difficult, I'm not a therapist. I completely understand. I know there's bigger than this. But for those of us who can choose, we can say, well, I'm not actually this person. I'm the person for whom it all works out. Okay,
mm,
and for that person, what does she do right now? And we might feel like saying, well, I don't know. And this is where I encourage people to touch into their intuition and to sit quietly for a moment and ask yourself, but if you did know, what would you say? And at that point, there's usually an answer. I could do this. I could take a step forward. I could send a message. I could call a friend for encouragement. I could, you name the action that works for you. I have a client who, when it's too much for her, she walks out the back door of her house and she looks at the trees. She doesn't walk out the front door because there's a garden out that way that needs work, and there's a truck that her kid always parks wrong. And so she knows, she goes out the back door where all she sees is trees, and she breathes and she
mm.
reminds herself of who she is. And then she goes back into doing what she's doing. She uses segment intending, but that's another conversation. Yeah.
I'm going to ask the dreaded the coach question that the coaches hate hearing because they got to put it on their landing page or something like that, or put it in their they have to have this big concept thing. With regards to your quiz, which is the five tools for that quantum leap, what is the potential? What is the transformation possibilities with that?
I'm going to just say it's not a quiz because I don't want people to be misled, but it is a
Did I
PDF.
say quiz?
It's okay. It's a guide.
My
It's all good.
apologies.
No, 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 that's okay. I just don't want people going, oh, because a lot of people love quizzes and
Yeah.
I gotta make one, but the possibility here lays within each soul who picks it up.
Mm,
Because we can say, well, absolutely, this will create change for you. Absolutely. When you're ready, when it's your time. And so you may pick up that guide and think, well, you know what, I could do that gratitude practice. I could do maybe a little bit of the journaling. You could pick one or two things and you could test it out. Or you could be like me when I dove into this world, I don't know, a few years ago. It was like, I'm in, I'm doing it. Like, I'm sorting this. My life is changing now. And for you, I say the change is 100% in your control. So the results will come. But
mm,
it depends on what your commitment to your vision is, what your commitment to a new life for you is. Because like I said, it is like a piano keyboard. Are you happy with the key that you're on right now, or would you like to shift up? And there's always a higher level, unlike on a piano. There's always a higher level. So just when you think things are fantastic, I thought our marriage was fantastic. I had no idea it could be fantasticer, which isn't even a word, but
Yeah,
it's true.
I love that because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be celebrating 41 years this year, and I still have moments where, you alluded to something else, so I'm not going to say what that was specifically, but in a journal point that I make, I actually wrote recently that I love that my husband and I can sit on the couch and have this type of conversation. And it's that like, man, oh man, again, hair. Yeah,
It's great, isn't it? And
it
those
is.
things that like, I love journaling. Journaling for me, I use it for lots of things. I might get all of my emotions out about something. I might journal about what my life looks like at that higher key. I mean, I could journal about something specific. But I love to journal. I'm so happy and grateful now that, and
Mm.
everything that's true, like I say, at that higher key level, and watch it roll out. And I love this. This story makes me laugh, but my husband's kind of a quiet guy. And I think that's interesting because we talkative ones, we always get the quiet partners. But he's kind of quiet. He talks when he has to. And so, of course, now I work from home. And I'm like, dude, if you don't talk to me, I have talked to no one all day. Like, so I used to say that to him, and he was just like, well, like, what do you want me to say? And so I stopped. I thought, Suzanne, you know better than this. And so I started writing in my journal. I'm so happy and grateful now that my husband comes home and we just talk all night. He has so many things to tell me. And I know it's ridiculous, okay? Like I understand that I'm not necessarily changing him, but I'm changing my energy and how I feel about anything he has to say is fantastic. And after about a week or two, the conversations got bigger and longer, and I said nothing. I was just enjoying. I was just in the moment. I don't even think I noticed. But when I did notice, we were sitting playing a game. We are a Settlers of Catan couple. Like, oh my God, we love that game. We were sitting playing that game, and it's my turn, and I've rolled, and I'm moving and building a few things. And he starts going, ba, 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 and I'm like, he never does that. He doesn't hum. He doesn't go, like he just that's him. And I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I don't know. I just really feel like I need to make some noise right now. And I just said, oh my God, I have got to tell you. This is what I just did. And he laughed. He goes, no. I said, well, you know I'm powerful. He goes, I can't. And you know what? I still write that. I'm so happy and grateful for the depth of our conversations. And what that does is it doesn't necessarily make my husband speak more. It
Mm.
makes me notice when he does and take the joy. Yeah.
Wow. You have said so much here today, Suzanne. Again, I can't wait to, actually stop in Kamloops and give you a hug or share a hug with you instead of just driving by for the decades that I have been without even realizing we were so close. It is always a pleasure to share space with you. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
Thank
Is
you,
there
Sam.
anything else you'd like to wind up with?
Just belief in who you are and who you're meant to be. It's like that's my self-worth thing. You are worthy the way you are, of the life that you would love, and just lean into that, and it's all there for you.
I
So,
love it.
thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Sandra.
You're precious. Thank you so much.